What happens then if all of a sudden, late tomorrow night, we get results that show that this safe Republican district has tipped Democrat? Then the next day in trading, what are we looking at? Gary Kaltbaum, market watch extraordinaire, what do you think?
Look, if the Republicans start losing, probably doesn't help markets due to the fact I do believe a possible conservative agenda coming up, even though we haven't seen much of it yet, will help markets. So it's something to watch very closely. And look, with elections, momentum is everything, and I can promise you the Dems, as well as the media, is going to drive this ball to the hoop big time if the Dems do win.
All right, but the market seems to be betting that Republicans will leak this out. Now, consensus is always dangerous. Predictions are even more so, as you reminded me over these many years. But you think a loss here on the part of the Republicans in this otherwise, and up to now, safe Republican district would be damaging, at least in near term to stocks.
It doesn't help the cause. The good news is for the market right now, Dow and S&P are strong. The NASDAQ that got hit real hard last week looks like it held some real strong support today. And something that hasn't been talked about, last week, Europe, even though things are better, they're going to still print $1 trillion a year and are still at negative 0.5% interest rates. Same for Japan. And I think that's what's keeping a floor under the market and keeping any trouble away at this point in time. Easy money is always work for the markets. I think that's the big help here.
You know, Gary, in the meantime, technology stocks, not universally, IBM an exception, some others, have been coming back, clawing their way back. Amazon, of course, a chief beneficiary of that, and of course Apple and Netflix and Facebook, some of these names are showing here. They have rebounded a little bit here. That's not to say they always will, but are they still the party leaders? In other words, have you seen anyone else emerge that can take their place?
I've never seen anything take the place of technology in a bull market. Technology always leads, and that's why it's so important to watch it. Second is financials, but I think a very far away second. So as long as the technology is doing well, we're talking about software, internet, fiber optics, and the like, I think all is in good stead. And today is really important. The big money came back in and right at support levels today and said, we're not going any lower, and that you can see what the market's doing today. And by the way, I've been hearing this talk about that it's a very narrow market, and it is. I've seen much broader based markets, but there are plenty of areas doing pretty well. I'm seeing things that you put in your homes like Whirlpool and Sherwin-Williams breaking out to new highs, Caterpillar and Deere, and in the Dow you got things as different as Boeing and Johnson & Johnson. So I think it's in pretty good stead here, and surprisingly so, because usually the summer we get the doldrums. So far so good, notwithstanding last week.
Gary, another thing that comes up with the Dow in record territory, the S&P as well, not so the NASDAQ, but some of these technology stocks coming back, is that they don't, if they're concerned about tax cuts not happening, they have a funny way of showing it. So if it looks like the tax cut thing, given the limited legislative days, and or the health care thing, given the limited legislative days, is delayed to a next year event at the earliest, then what?
Heck to pay. Simple as that. I think a big portion of what we've seen, and it's by no accident that the day after the election the market lifted off, is because of all that. And you have to remember, we had 8 years of the opposite, not only on tax, but on regulations and just about everything else. So I really do believe not only markets, but business owners and the heads of major corporations are in expectation, are in planning for all this going forward, and that is tax relief, health care. And when I hear, though, about this health care bill that they may leave 21 taxes in there, and we also keep hearing about border tax, I'm not very excited. That's something that has to be watched very, very closely going forward.
Yeah, it doesn't sound a whole lot different than the one it's presumably replacing. Gary, thank you very much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you.